So it begins, hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Ignite and Grand Media. I'm your host, Mark, and I'm here with a good friend of mine.
And Ivan, how's it going?
How's it going?
Yeah.
How you been, man?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Heck yeah. So this is kind of interesting because this gives us like deja vu memories. We've been planning to do this for about what? Like a month now?
This has been something that you have requested of me over the past couple of months. Yeah, I'm not gonna say exactly like, but we didn't really get the ground running and the ignition of trying to do this till like about 3 weeks ago. I remember it very vividly. I was just walking around Grand Avenue. You know, there's so much art there and stuff that you're like, okay,
And I showed them around the couple of galleries over there.
Yeah. And so I was walking around there, and I guess you had seen me walk by and you caught my attention.
I was working.
I was
working in the morning. I took a video of this dude. Look at this dude. He's taking a picture of the mural.
Yeah.
And then he's ignoring me.
And because I had my headphones in.
I know.
So like I completely blocked out everything around me. And I just was like admiring a piece of artwork, and I just moved on forward with my walk. And then I think that started the.
We had coffee.
Yeah. We had coffee. And then we just kind of talked about it, and then you brought it up, and I was like, oh, I think he needs it. Because I mean, the concept of what this whole thing is came to fruition out of inspiration and
just curiosity.
And this is something people don't really realize. With what very little knowledge you're able to gain, a lot of inspiration can be taken into effect. And I think that's the beauty of art, is that you can take a small amount of study and then wanting to, like, we're so like into the projection through a microscope sometimes with ourselves, with how we want to portray something, that we don't really realize, oh wait, like I want to project this into a sculpture, an inanimate object, something, that represents, or maybe the symbology around it.
Or sometimes writing in poetry or like playing songs, a way to express whatever that is inside of you, like lay it out there.
Yeah, and I think for us, for those of us, who know and who understand and who can hear it, creation is something that any human being can do, and the basic process of gaining knowledge, whether it's to teach, to inspire, or to gather people to it. I mean, you look at some of it, like Michelangelo, look at some of the masonry pieces that he worked on. Here we are hundreds of years later, and we're still talking about the David, the sculptures, and some of us are even inspired to be like, let me take this little bit of clay here, and let's make something that can hold water.
Yeah.
Sustainability, and I think that's a concept in art that we don't really talk about, because this obviously came in. You were like, we wanted something. Remember,
we wanted something unique. We wanted something cool, but we also wanted to be able to represent the different aspects of the Chicano culture. The four different cultures, right?
Yeah, I believe like we wanted to represent the Olmec, the Aztec, the Mayan, and the Inca.
Inca wasn't talked about in the hot stuff.
It wasn't, but it was referred to. And like, it's funny how the one we knew the least about was the one that captivated us, because when everybody saw that giant Olmec head,
yeah,
like,
it looked like a bobblehead.
Everybody started. What's the word? What was the Funko Pop?
Yeah, exactly.
It looked like a Funko Pop, and you realize how many things do we have around us that have such a big, big-headed indentation.
They were also the ones that inspired rubber, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So we remember from our studies. So see, we were paying attention in class.
We were actually learning. We were actually learning. Well, that's the thing. I mean, we kept ourselves on a pretty tight leash. Like, it was all mostly guys, but we all kind of came to the conclusion, like, we're all going to benefit from this, And shout out to our teacher. Yeah, because we did.
Sonia Gutierrez.
We're now full circle to this. So yeah. Sonia Gutierrez, thank you. You know, really appreciate that. Shout out to you.
Yeah, and then let's see. What else do we want to talk about before we get into the project? So the funny thing is, like when we met on the first day of class, we were two of the few outspoken people in class, and that's kind of how we blended in. We sat close to each other, like, I think this guy's cool. And I'm like,
no, I you know,
my first. Oh, go ahead and tell your first impression.
Yeah. So we didn't know much of. This was not like, oh, I know you from a.
No.
We all came in as strangers, and we walked out of this classroom inspired. We learned something, and we all benefited from it from a perspective of expression. And although some of us more than others, right, were like, oh yeah, this is part of my everyday culture. We notice it, you know, through our everyday life. And that was the thing that I was telling Mark from time to time. It's like, yeah, I'm here learning about Chicano culture, learning about my ancestors, but you don't really realize how much of it you're living. Like the stereotypical part of us that we go, oh, he does that because he's part of this culture, or from that culture, or from that, you know. But you realize you're living. You are a living, like, person to what you're doing every day. And so that's something that, you know, like kind of inspired us to be like, that's a different perspective, you know. And that's what kind of kept the class a little, I guess, interesting.
And what got me intrigued with the first section, or first, like when I said, because you had a lot of experience, you're talking about cooking, and you were a very great cook, and you're talking about your culture, and you're talking about your background, you know, in Mexico. I was like, this guy knows a lot. And you're funny, so I was like, okay, we can get along pretty well. And it was like a week or two, and then we got along very good.
Yeah.
After that,
I mean,
and then Vlad was sitting right next to us.
Shout out to Vlad.
Shout out to Vlad.
Shout out to Vlad.
Honestly, he's the engineer. Like me and him, when we were constructing this, so we both did drawing the designs, and we both had the same idea. But I'm like, how am I going to bring this to life? And like, hey, Vlad,
we needed an engineer.
We needed an engineer,
someone who could draw the blueprint.
And Vlad's like, I got you, boys.
It's like, so the whole beautiful thing about it is he felt like he had the most minimal hands-off contribution.
Which is interesting that he thinks like that, because that's what makes
look at the minimal contribution of this. Like,
yeah, that's what brought it to life.
This is it is just, you know.
Go ahead and spin it around.
Yeah. So there's pieces of this that are wood, and like we just expressed it from basic small cheap materials, and it gains a little bit of its own. And you know, for those of you who know, there's a reason it's in a cube. There's a reason there's moss. Some people are not able to see it. There's literally a moss embossery.
You can lift it up.
Yeah. We open up right here. So, yeah. And then there's roots coming up. You know, it's coming up on its feathers. Everything that we learned through culture and art for that classroom defined what this was in its most inexpensive way. Because this can be easily moved around and talked about and whatnot. And it's one of those things where, you know, inexpensive art pieces.
It's a beautiful, you know, modern mixed media art. And one of the things that I wanted to kind of help out a lot, because we had a few of our guys who are kind of new into art.
Yeah.
Like you did stencils, I've done digital art. Painting is a different ballgame. Like I suck at painting, you know. So what we try to do is to make it simple for us and for others. It's like, hey, why don't we give it a bit of a 3D effect? So we did the shading for the shadows, and then we printed out the PNG, and then we put them on. Yeah. Our boy Max, who said he's not a painter.
Yeah, another thing, you know.
Look at this. He did the Jaguar.
It looks like, if camera does this shot angle any justice, it looked like a sticker was just placed on there.
Yeah, it looks similar to
It
this.
looks similar to everything else.
You're like,
But this particular part of the piece was hand drawn and hand painted.
yeah.
And that's something, again,
Shout out Max.
shout out to Max, bro. Like yeah, you know. So again, you know, talking about it, like people who think, oh, you know, I'm only contributing to one gemstone into this giant thing, but that one gemstone, you don't realize
what makes
it's
the
what
whole-
makes the whole
piece.
piece just come
Yeah.
together. You know.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful too part about the feathers. Like, it was a little struggle because when we put through the canvas, sometimes it didn't stick.
None of it stuck. Oh,
Yeah.
now they're stuck, but like
Yeah.
that's because we put resin
Resin and glue.
and glue together
Yeah.
to put it.
And then
yeah.
put it in a way so that we can hold it while still like stays upright, you know? Gives it that look. And then yeah, we went to go hang out by Michael's. We grabbed some leaves and
Some
moss,
ferns, you know, moss and
zip tied them together, and then there you go.
yeah, it was. That's when we were putting this together towards the end. Everybody was like, "Well, why did we call it the Mayan Tesseract? Why did we call it what it was? Like a tesseract, the cube? Why the shapes?" And then I think that's when we kind of got into a bit more to the inspiration of it. And I said because it's cultural gospel, like cultural culture coming out of the ground, and like we were all inspired by that. Like there's a reason it's suspended on blue, and everything looks like it's painted in the sky.
And the color blue that we used, it's all thanks to you. You did the spray paint, which
Yeah.
looks incredible.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to Mayan blue. We don't have the actual Mayan blue, but from what we see in pictures, it's very vibrant. It's very in your face. And it's not teal, it's not baby blue, it's like a mixture of
Yeah,
both.
it's one of those hues of color. I want to say that, yeah, because it brings its own. It's that perfect hue that attracts light.
And what's so fascinating is the history behind the color. So you think about it like, oh, it's optimism, it's happy, but no, that shit was just for death.
Yeah, it's just sacrificial. Like
that's saying like, hey, you're marked for death.
Yeah. You bring the sacrifice here, paint them in blue, and then off
Ship
he goes
them
off
off.
into the temples. You know,
there's a temple right there.
There's a temple right here. There's skulls in there, and then off with his head. You know, like that was the thing about it. And it's interesting how one color can denote spiritualism, because that's the thing. We're now talking about a color, a scheme, a theme.
Yeah.
That in modern day life, we see blue, we think of the sky.
Yeah, and then the fascinating thing about that color, that specific dye, it never came off. It was always permanent, and that's what's so like even when people die and the meat is off the bones, you could still see that blue, and you know, like it's like saying like, hey, we were here, and these are the people that we sacrificed to the gods.
This was our monument, you know. I mean, and then that also, you know, it's still like it's a wide. And now more so when we go into human anatomy and all that, you know, obsidian, all that stuff. It's a one thing that we kind of think about, like, you know, did they have the tools at the time to do sacrifices, to do this? All we know is that it's in a wide perspective. People were offered as sacrifices, and they did as such. And historically, how they did it, we can completely go into a whole different topic about that.
Different,
you know,
subject.
But it was done so, and that's how they did it. You know, painting people blue, and there you go. You know, off to this giant tower where we hope we don't get an eclipse. So yeah.
So it's pretty cool. We could talk about our 4 mascots, and then we'll try to talk a little bit about other groups.
Yeah, because there was actually a couple other pieces that we saw that are currently up on this classroom, like, again, going full circle.
Yeah.
It's more of what this teacher put up, and I can't really understand the context of it.
We're not gonna remember like who did which part. I made a story on Instagram, a highlight, and you could see like which group did what, and it's called the Chicano class. You know?
Yeah.
But everybody did a fantastic job, and it's so fascinating. It's similar to like how Max is. We had only like 5 artists in the room, and everybody else was still able to create a phenomenal piece. I can see this in the gallery. I can see actually all of them in the gallery.
Yeah, all of them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Like I said, we were learning from a piece of a microscopic piece of history, and we were all inspired to put it on our canvas and
come together.
And then I remember more of that than the food.
There was some good.
There was some food at the end of the shoot. See what I mean?
It was a celebration.
It was a big celebration. Yeah. I remember the art pieces a lot more with nostalgia being in this classroom now that this is our setting. This, I can't stop really being mesmerized by something that we created something that will stand here and it will be moved around campus. There's a place for this, right?
Yeah, and here's what's really great about our professor. So she asked the director of the college, and she wants to display some of the art pieces. And there's also some more art pieces in the back right here. We're talking about. I'm gonna butcher the name. Pachaca?
No. Pachucos. Pachuca.
The life of the Pachuca.
Yeah, Pachuca. I know very little about it, so I'm gonna refrain. But it's that part of Chicano culture. I guess you want to say that representation of Hispanic culture that's
so she's going to pick a couple of our pieces from our last semester and then this semester, and then she's going to display them in the front of the campus where people walk by, and to kind of get their brain thinking hey, this is pretty cool. What is this? What is the story about it? And then create a QR code and then a whole story about it, which is going to be really incredible. And that's something that we need more on our campus. No offense, I'm not going to say that college. Well, actually, they already know. It's Palmer College. No offense to Palmer, but we need more art displayed. Okay, it's kind of a little boring, especially the San Marcos campus. There's a metal building by the, what is it called?
Oh man,
it's not. Is it empty building?
I have no idea.
It's it's like a philosophy building or anthropology. It literally looks lifeless. I don't know what went into the architect who built that building. It's all metal. It's panels.
It's modern.
It's modern, but it's dead. It's lifeless. There's no.
Well, it may not to you.
To me,
it may not. It may not be this epic, inspirational thing, but you have to realize that, not again. This is one thing. Your perspective isn't always going to.
It's not the common.
It's not the common.
Yeah, I get that.
Because who knows? Cheap, functional, budgets. There's so much that we kind of judge by the final result. This looks boring, but we do not know the history, the battle, the complexity of who was before us that decided that was something that could be there.
I see, guys. That's how you handle it. That's a mature response, right?
I'm letting you know. No, and then that's where some of us kind of because, and it goes in tandem to this. People were like, "Oh, you guys must have years of experience." The last time I ever did a stencil drawing was years ago. I was 18. I was working. I was painting walls with my dad. Where I got the inspiration to draw stencils and stuff.
And here's the fascinating thing about me at this period. So I talked a little bit to my close friends. So at that time, I was having a mental block at the same time. So trying to create something when you're mentally blocked because there's other weird things that just happen, and you're trying to avoid it. So, and that's the thing that kind of hurts me the most because art is what I use to escape the world. When I can't escape my own world, it's like, what else do I do? So, but yeah, I'm glad to have broken out of that thing. And yeah, I did Beers with the Story, came out really good.
You're talking about, a mental block, right? But to every single one of us, I think we saw inspiration and light, and your kind of mindset started to change towards the class, and you're like, that's. We started to notice that you became this individual, that the Mark that I know now. I was like, dang, whatever happened in this dude's past life or whatever, like it doesn't matter anymore. We got to
transition because
we got to see that transition.
See, going back to how I am before, it's been a weird year. Like, there's been a lot of things happen to me, and I don't want to talk about it. This is like a personal life. But yeah, like, I'm glad to have been like an inspiration, an example in a way, and with my art, and to be able to kind of bring this whole thing to life. And everybody else had a great inspiration too,
Oh yeah, I
Everybody had
remember.
a part of it.
I remember like not all of us. Well, like you felt rejuvenated through art. This was something therapeutic. All of us felt it as we were painting, waiting for paint to dry. I think at some point somebody said, "Now I know why people do this." Now I know why people struggle to bring out their creation out of love, out of impatience, out of and then either their pain, their highlight, their blessings. They want to create, and that's something that we all felt.
Yeah, and that's kind of how you talked about in the beginning.
We're feeling this.
Taking something from.
Yeah, we're feeling this. Oh, we're finally creating something.
Wave off, and then we put it. It's like alchemizing. Taking a negative energy and you transform it into a positive, into something that is meaningful, impactful. And that's kind of like the point that I want to do with my organization, the Ignite Art Club, is ignite that spark of creativity. So that passion to spark it, and then to keep that flame running, and whatever that inspires us, and then to put it into either a poem, into a song, into art. There's all sorts of ways to, like, in art, that's the beauty of it. There's fashion, there's theater, and
I mean, most of my friends now are into music. Either I hear, and even now it's like I hear that creative, like the creative words, like I'm working on a project, or I'm working closely with this person. I'm learning how to play an instrument. And we kind of realize at the end of every single one of these expressions, the word art is at the end. Classical art, theater, like classical art, music, it's interesting how some people, if they don't know how to write it down, right, or poetically or calligraphy, with calligraphy or whatever, like, kind of how you and I kind of talked about it.
There's other means.
There's other means by people where people can express. Yeah.
Dude, I love how we're both on the same wavelength. Let's see.
Yeah, old souls, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah. Boomers. Anyway.
But no, I ain't no
Well,
boomer.
we're not boomers.
We're not
Honestly,
boomers. No.
We're more like the cool uncles, in the party,
Yeah. A friend of mine, every time I walk around or go near him, he goes, "What's up, Unc?" And I'm like, "Oh gosh," like, I was like, "Well, yeah, I am."
I mean, you're not wrong, but just call me Ivan.
Yeah, just call me. And then that kind of, and that perception of maturity, I think follows us.
Exactly.
I have we just had a conversation earlier today.
Almost like 2 hours.
We were like, and that's what inspired this most, like, wow. If we would have started filming at that very moment to now, I think we'd have about 3 hours of content, you know, but it's interesting how, for me, I think I asked them 3 different things. Do you want to walk around and just talk, or do you want to sit down and have a meeting? And I think
we prefer to like walk because
it movement
engages
forward.
the brain better.
Yeah. And so, I mean, a lot of those elements resonates both of us, that we don't just want to sit still. We want to move, we want to create, we want to do something. And
I think that's the point of life, is to always be moving, like never to stay stagnant. Because like, I'm gonna get a little off topic. Like I've always admired Bruce Lee, his philosophy of like, be like water. You know, water can
formless, shapeless.
Yeah.
It forms around anything.
If you put water in a cup, it becomes the cup. You know, that famous quote.
Yeah.
And then
Everybody knows that.
Water can flow or crash. And the most important part about that quote and what he means is that the point of life is to always be flowing like water. So water goes through obstacles, it goes through dams, it goes through rivers, it goes through rocks, but eventually you see that the water makes the crack and it goes through. That's the point of us. It's like no matter what obstacle we face, or a mental block, or whatever it is, that only do what you can control, what's within your control, how you react to the situation, and then have a good hobby that you can be able to alchemize and create good energy. And that's what's going to help you to kind of like alleviate out of that, and then, you know, be with the community, with like-minded individuals, good friends, good people, and
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of truth in the matter that who you surround yourself with, who you are around with a lot will inspire. You know, there was a quote that I wrote that I read not too long ago, and it still stuck with me. At the time I was much younger, but I said that, you know, this quote inspired me even now. You know, a good artist will never let his brush be contaminated by anything, any hue or color that he will not be worthy to put or dare to put on his art. So taking that from the inspirational point, you know, a brush has so many layers, but it only takes one blot or one, you know, mistake of the brush, or, you know, as you're mixing colors, you're not really focused on what you're doing. And you kind of smear, you make a mistake, and you know, you kind of think, okay, well, you know, art is very forgiving, because when you're kind of designing something, you realize this could have gone way more south. You know?
But somehow it did not. And like when we're gonna get back into on topic about the art project, and so when we came up with this game plan, okay, we wanted the Mayan Tesseract, we wanted to represent all the cultures, but before we came up with the designs, me and Vlad, we were kind of like still a little foggy on it, but it was like, hey, we're going towards the direction. And then what's funny is like Vlad, after he constructed it, he's like, all I need to do is just put the canvases together. It's like, you guys just gotta paint it. And I'm like, Vlad,
no,
it's like, how do I tell him, like, bro, I'm dealing with a mental block right now. Like, you're asking me to paint like 4 canvases. I'm like,
oh man.
But it came along. It came together.
Yeah.
Again, Max. Bro.
Max, thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, Max. Max, gracias. And so, but see, and that's the thing. You knew this wasn't just gonna be all by yourself. Like it was what, 5 of us?
5 of us, yeah.
5 people. 5 of us.
And then had to like involve the others and make it in a way that is accessible and makes sense, and like also go your own pace, like do your own thing on art. Like I just bought the paint supplies, I gave the receipt, and Yeah, I'm really proud of how this thing came along. I like it because when it's going to be displayed on the campus, it's definitely going to get attention. It's definitely going to, provoke the mind to like, hey, why these animals? It looks interesting. And I think, we can create a QR code for Professor Camp, and then she could talk, about the history of the cultures.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, this was created in a classroom.
This very classroom.
Like this very classroom. By people who were either struggling, didn't know, or didn't believe they had the ability to, again, create. Look at this, like create something. And going back to where you dropped off, sometimes the worst critic is yourself.
Yeah.
When it comes to it, or the biggest demotivate, like the biggest doubter can be you can doubt yourself, and that's really hard to kind of get out of for some people. But for those that kind of push through, endure, and move forward, despite the situation, despite struggle, despite hardship, right? They are still able to do it. You can always create something. I tell this many times to people from my church congregation. Sometimes in your most bleak moment, once you're through, you will gain an understanding that the light in front of you is so much more precious than anything you had done. And we weather the storm that way. There's peace, there's serenity, there's beauty, self-awareness, and then
there's newfound wisdom. There's also there's always light at the end of the tunnel, no matter how dark the tunnel is or how dark the abyss is. And that's the beauty part of this logo for Ignite. Like, look at this. It looks
a
like
flame.
a flame.
A flame that keeps burning.
And then you got angel wings up, it's just flying. It's like you always rise a phoenix above the ashes. So, any final thoughts? Otherwise, we're gonna keep going.
Well, I mean, I was only told that I was being paid like $100 for this, so I mean that's 15 minutes of my time. I don't know how much time. But you guys. No. Yeah. So in conclusion, with everything that we've kind of shared today, both personal, philosophical, whatever.
Yeah, we've been all over the place.
But
in a good way.
Yeah. I mean, when me and him get together, all these topics come out. But I to our viewers, people, looking to the Ignite Art Club, the purpose is for you to find that inspiration for yourself or in others to want to create something. And it doesn't have to be this big, huge, boisterous piece of art. It can start with small and simple things. Someone told me yesterday, I have a lot of talents to give. I have a lot of talents to kind of give back. Well, why don't you start with one? Yeah. Why don't you start with one talent? And if that talent is to create art, if that talent is to help somebody else understand that creative process within themselves, do it. Don't wait. Don't wait till the right person, the right things.
You have to be the right person. You have to take the action to
that
be the right
spark.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Oh, Ivan, Martin, it's blessed, bro.
No, it's been a pleasure. It's been my pleasure.
And you know what, guys? We handled this in one take.
One take.